Okay, so we're going to go ahead and analyze the hypothetical data. So the purpose of this assignment is to assess your ability to be able to analyze data and inform your instructional approaches. So as you can see here, we have hypothetical data that is simulated. So essentially, you're going to be writing your learning goal here in this section. So you're going to have two learning goals, a low-level learning goal and a high-level learning goal. So as you can see here, we have simulated data from students, and we have assessed learning goal 1 and learning goal 2. And as you can see here, we have our percentage for the pre-assessment for learning goal 1 and the post-assessment for learning goal 1. So we see the same thing here for learning goal 2. As you can see here, we also have our DT students, who are students A, B, C, D, and E. Our SPED students are students M, N, O, P, and Q with their respective SPED needs. And we have our EB, ELL students who are students RST. So we're at this point, I'm going to walk you through how to analyze the data. So as you can see here, we are able to determine the growth from the pre-assessment to the post-assessment. So we can do that by inserting a formula, and I'm just going to go ahead and highlight this a color just so that we can differentiate that. Learning goal 1 and learning goal 2, we'll select green for that. So we're going to go ahead and create a formula. So this formula is going to give us the growth, so that will be the post-assessment minus the pre-assessment score percentage. And as you can see here, we have student A who demonstrated a 20-point growth from the pre to post-assessment. And we can go ahead and drag that formula down, as we can see here. And we're going to be doing the same thing for growth for learning goal 2. So that's going to be equal to the score for learning goal 2 for the post-assessment minus the pre-assessment score. And as you can see here, student A had a growth of 50 points from the pre to post-assessment, specifically for learning goal 2. So we're going to go ahead and do exactly the same thing and drag the formula down. So as you can see here, another thing that we can calculate will also be the average. So we're going to calculate the average for the pre-assessment and the average for the post-assessment for learning goal 1. So we have the average would equal to average, and we're just going to go ahead and select this, enter. As you can see, our average was 47.5 for the pre-assessment for learning goal 1. We're going to go ahead and drag the formula this way, and that will help us determine our averages for the post for learning goal 1 and pre and post assessment for the learning goal 2, as we can see here. And we'll just go ahead and denote average. Now at this point, we can proceed to visualize our data. So we can go ahead and do exactly that. And one way we can visualize the data would be, looking at the growth for learning goal 1 and for learning goal 2. So what we can do is we can go ahead and select the student's name. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Command and select student names. So let's go ahead and select their names. So I'm going to go ahead and select them, click Command, and select these as well here. And we're going to go ahead and click on Insert, and that will be a bar graph column. And we can see this here where we're able to visualize the data. So as you can see here, we have our titles, growth for learning goal 1 and growth for learning goal 2 for each specific student. Now, of course, we want to go ahead and have a title for our graph. So for your title, you want to make sure that this denotes what the data is for. So essentially, this is going to be assessment data. Specifically, as you can see, this is the whole class data. So we're going to call this whole class data for LG1 and LG2. And we can have our title in this case, so you can be more specific. If you wanted to say whole class assessment data, you can leave it as so. So what we want to do is, we can also change this here to have our title. So we're going to do that for our axes. So if you look here on the upper left-hand corner, add chart element, we're going to go ahead and name the axis titles, and these will be the students. That will be our horizontal axis title, and we can name our grade percentage. So in this case, this is going to show the growth, so points in growth. We can say pre and post growth. And in hindsight, pre-post assessment growth, points growth. And in this case, we can go ahead and this would be assessment growth data for LG1 and LG2. And we can probably make this to be here on the right. So we're going to go ahead and do that by clicking on legend, and that will be to the right. And as you can see here, now we have our chart, right? So we're able to do that. So when you are ready to start writing your narrative, all you have to do in order to copy it over is simply select it here. So you're going to click on copy, and then you can go ahead and add it to your page, right? So you'll just click on copy and paste, and you'll be able to have it. So that's how we can go ahead and visualize the data for the whole class assessment growth, LG1 and LG2.